Hello, welcome to More Learn, More Teach, where I attempt to simplify the complex. Today I'd like to talk to you about vectors. So what is a vector? A vector is a mathematical construct. It is a visual way of seeing a world. It is a quantity that has both a magnitude and a direction. Okay, with a magnitude and a direction. Magnitude is the absolute value of the vector, right? It's how much of a vector do you have? That is my magnitude of this vector. That is what's called a scalar. So something that does not have direction, the magnitude does not have direction. So the scalar form of the vector is just the magnitude. When I stick a direction on it, now it goes from a scalar to a vector. This vector, which has both magnitude and direction, now points somewhere. That may be physically significant for whatever problem I'm trying to solve. So I might need to use a vector, which is what we're talking about today. So a vector has both the scalar magnitude and the direction. So I can describe this direction by using what's called unit vectors. Unit vectors. So we'll describe three different coordinate systems. We'll describe the Cartesian coordinate system, the spherical coordinate system, and the cylindrical coordinate system to help us solve vector problems. This little hat, this little caret above our axis name, that indicates that it is a unit vector, and that helps us with what direction are we pointing. We'll find out that every vector can be described by component subvectors, which are in line with these unit directions. All right, so now let's look at addition and subtraction. So if I want to add two vectors, I will attach the tail of one vector to the head of the other vector, then draw a resulting vector from the origin to the head of the second vector. It doesn't matter what coordinate system you're in, it's the same process for all coordinate systems. If I have vector A and vector B, I start at the origin. At the head of vector A, I attach the tail of vector B. Now the head of vector B to the origin, so from the origin to the head of vector B, that vector is A plus B. What if I swapped them? So now I start with B at the origin, and I attach the tail of vector A to the head of vector B, and now I draw a vector from the origin to the head of vector A. That vector is B plus A. Turns out that A plus B is equal to B plus A. These are commutative properties. So let's look at subtraction now. So subtraction, I'm adding the negative vector, right? Subtraction, I'm just adding the negative vector. So what is the negative vector? Negative vector has the same magnitude as the positive vector, but it's going in the opposite direction. So if I have a C vector, negative C has the same magnitude, but exactly the opposite direction. So if this is C, this is negative C. If I have B, from what I had before, negative B has the same magnitude as B, but it's pointing in the opposite direction. So now I'm just going to add. I add the same way I did before. I add that negative vector when I'm subtracting. So if I start at the origin, so now we want to look at B minus C. Okay, I start at the origin. I draw my vector B, and I'm going to attach this vector negative C, the tail of negative C, to the head of B. So I attach the tail of negative C to the head of B, draw my resulting vector from the origin to the head of vector negative c, that gives me b minus c. So let's try it the opposite direction, see what happens. So if I start at the origin, and now I draw vector c, I now have vector c, and if I attach the vector negative b, the tail of negative b to the head of c, and draw my resulting vector from the origin to the head of negative b, I now have c minus b. We can see these are not the same vectors. This vector is pointing in this direction. This vector is pointing in that direction. They are not equal. So subtraction is not commutative. With the exception of if I treated this as b plus negative c, that would equal to negative c plus b, because addition is commutative, subtraction is not commutative. Thank you for watching my video. Please like and subscribe. If you have any questions that I can help you out with, I'd be happy to try and answer your questions. Send me an email at morelearnmoreteach@gmail.com.